Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. My name's Gray, your one and only corrupted angel, and today we are back with some more Warframe. It's been about 4 weeks since our last Warframe video, and I wanted to talk a little bit about it. So, in the previous video, I mentioned how I spent 4,000 platinum and saved my account, and that's something that I guess in the comments as well as just in general, coming in with a little bit more clarity. It's technically not saving my account, right? However, I definitely think that there was a lot of suboptimal things happening with my account, and that 4,000 platinum did really help to improve my quality of life playing the game and a bunch of other things like that. So, with that in mind, where are we at now from 4 weeks ago to now? And I wanted to give a little bit of an update on my account, what's been going on, where I've been, and what's been happening. Keep in mind, I have been playing this game really casually over the last 4 weeks just because life has gotten a little bit in the way and I've had less time to really be able to do a lot. But nevertheless, I am still invested in the game. I'm still playing it frequently. I was grinding out a bunch of Warframes and still have a couple that I've got to build, but for the most part, I've been grinding out Warframes. I've been collecting Warframes, just trying to get some weapons up and online, get some mods slowly leveled up. So, been working on quite a few things, and can't wait to show everyone. So, let's start with the Warframes, and I guess to an extent, just everything else, right? We have a couple of new additions to our list. We got some Kome, we got Wisp, Zephyr, a couple others, I think, that weren't in there before. Harrow, I think, is another one that wasn't in there. But nevertheless, we are having a little bit more in terms of Warframes. I wanted to go through it a bit more in detail as well. Just go through each of the Warframes, what I'd use them for, if I use them frequently, that sort of thing. And do a little brief run through. First up, though, I guess Caliban. Caliban is one of the ones that I think I pretty frequently use. It's sort of a regular of mine now. Really, really good survivability with shitloads of shields. Fantastic strength in terms of damage output with its ultimate as well as its sentinels that it can spawn. It also has really, really fantastic crowd control with its 2. It's just overall a sustainable, really comfy frame that is something that I don't have to put a lot of thought into when I'm playing with it. If you want to see the build, this is my Caliban build. It's nothing crazy. Just trying to max out strength, so that way I've got as much damage as possible, a little bit of duration and range to just help me with my stun, and also to keep those sentinels out a little bit longer. But yeah, just overall trying to get as much shield value as possible. Got Aegis in there as well to get some more shield value, so I'm a little bit tankier. Some energy nexus for even extra comfort. Not that it's necessary, but definitely helps. Overall, probably a suboptimal build, but also not too bad, I feel. I do have pretty much no changes to my secondaries. I will point that out now. It is still going to be between Sikaris and Latum. They both have basically identical builds for the most part. Going for a corrosive radiation build with a little bit of heat and a galvanized mod, and specifically this dodge speed amalgam barrel diffusion. My Sikaris is also looking pretty similar with just a viral build instead of viral slash build, and then that same radiation still popping on there just in case I need it. It's overall probably not the best Sikaris Prime build in the world, but it does service me really, really well. Still does a decent amount of damage. The Incarnon still carries quite a bit. I do have crit mods that I could be using for that really high crit chance, but I just haven't had a chance to former this into Oblivion even more so than I already have, and I haven't gotten them maxed out anyway, so adding a crapload of crit chance instead of something like Accelerated Isotope isn't really necessary, and the Accelerated Isotope actually gives me a little bit of value in terms of not needing to change my mods out when I'm fighting different types of enemies, because I have a little bit of damage from radiation as well to just help with certain enemy types. Nevertheless, though, the Latum and the Sakaris are going to stay the same as my two secondary weapons. The same thing is to be said about the melee weapons. I only have the Praetos, the Dokram, and I now have a ceramic dagger in Kanon, which is only a stat stick on one character, I think, or maybe two characters. So you will see the Dokram and the Praetos be my main ones, because I absolutely adore the speed boost that the Praetos gets, and then the Dokram is just there for pure raw melee damage, which is very rare in terms of being needed, so you won't see that happen very often. So this just gives me a boatload of mobility with these two weapons, and then I mainly rely on my various different primary weapons to help me get through the game. In this case, though, I have a Felox. If you want to see my Felox build, it's pretty simple. Pretty simple. Still needs a little bit of work with some point-blank upgrade, but it's relatively okay, I would say. Pretty comfy. Wouldn't mind getting a primed ammo stock or tactical pump in there as well eventually, if I can ever former these two and make it a 5-former build, but for now, this is perfectly fine. Corrosive radiation does its job, and it does it well, so I'll take it. But moving on, I will go with Gara. Gara's next. Gara is a bit of a different story. Gara has a lot less in terms of utility, I find. She's still really, really fun, but she's a lot less comfy. Requires a lot more attention and a lot more, I guess, skill to pull off. I don't want to say skill because it's, PvE game, but it is a bit of a skill diff situation. You got to be keeping your eye out on things, making sure you're constantly using your abilities. Very heavy on the caster frame with this build. It's basically just a nuke build in a sense. Not a super large amount of range, but enough where she can be quite aggressive. Has Shadowstorm as well to keep her buffs up. Has Boreal's Hate as well to give us some extra shield capacity so she can shield gate a bit. Augur Reach for shield gating as well. Just overall, it works quite nicely to basically keep her alive forever, but it's very spammy and very much so requires a lot of constant upkeep, which is why we've got a little bit of efficiency in there as well. She's running a Boltor. It's just personal preference at this point. I did get an Incarnon on my Boltor. This is the build. I do have a Riven, but again, it's basically just a Amalgam Serration weapon that does decent damage. This is purely to get access to more movement speed and keep her agile. I've got a little bit of a crit mod on here as well, just to help out with some extra crit. We got a pretty good crit to status ratio as well, which is nice. It is viral. I don't have room for heat in here, so it's viral slash with hunting munitions. Not too bad considering the crit chance. I do have, like I said, the stat stick ceramic dagger. I haven't fully upgraded it yet, so it's not fully there, but it's basically just as much damage as I can get for now. I will be replacing a couple of these mods in the future with some other mods. But it does its job in giving me some extra damage here, which is all that really matters. Other than that, I do need to finish off the last evolution as well. But overall, I think she's one of my favorite characters to play, favorite Warframes to play, but just not necessarily the comfiest, so I don't take her out too often. Next up is one of the more recent ones, Harrow. Harrow I've just been farming for. I recently just finished his build. I don't know if this is necessarily the best build in the world, but it's kind of as good as I could do for now. I don't quite have the arcanes yet to really fully kit him out. I know there are some better arcanes than this, but this does the trick for the most part. Very much so could remove Thurible, I think is how you say it, and replace that with Roar if I wanted to, and that would probably be more beneficial thanks to my strength and a duration in this build, but it really doesn't matter too much at the moment because I don't really play Harrow very often. I've just been farming the Torrid with him because I got the Torrid Incarnon. My Torrid Incarnon is by no means done. I still need to stick an extra mod in here, but I will be formering that soon and finishing that off. Again, Amalgam Serration, Blast, similar to my other rifle weapons. It just helps me. It does its job. It clears rooms. The Incarnon is really, really nice on this weapon as well. Seeing the same thing, Sakaris and Praetos, nothing too crazy. Definitely don't use him very often, but he is usable now if I ever feel like variety. Next up is Hildren, one that I absolutely adore and also kind of hate at the same time. Balefire Charger is a fantastic upgrade, but also one that pains me because when you do your Balefire combo where you're flying around in the sky, my god, is it not a fun time visually just because of the fact that she doesn't really have a good viewing angle. Nevertheless, this is my build for her. It's very much so just a damage reduction build when you're in the air with Aviator and Aerodynamic. You got the Aegis Scale as well to help out. And you basically are just shield gating like no tomorrow, using a bunch of shield buffs and damage reduction from being in the air to combo with your massive amounts of damage to deal all of the damage in the world. You literally don't need any weapons here. I could easily replace this with one of my new rifle weapons instead, and that would do just as good job giving her extra movement speed, but I like having the Tigress just in case I find a particularly tough enemy. I can, hit it with 48,000 damage, which isn't too bad. As you can see here, this is my build for this. It's okay, I feel. Not too crazy, but it does its job, and it helps in some cases. Again, I don't have the best arcanes for her as well, so Molt Augmented is just something that I have. Definitely could do with a different arcane to give more crit chance and stuff like that to the Balefire charges. I am aware of that. Again, my arcanes are lacking still, so we're getting there. Next up, Limbo. Limbo is literally only here for excavation. I have only built my Limbo for excavation. He chills out with my Boar Incarnon. I'll give you a look at the build there as well if you want to see this. Again, don't judge me. My builds are literally just built by me. I try and make them as utility-based as possible. There's my Riven if you want to see it. But it's just a utility build. It's nothing crazy, but it does its job. As for the actual Limbo itself, this might be a wild build to you all, but it kind of works for what I need it to do. It is a negative range Limbo to basically not disrupt my team, but allow me to keep an excavation point alive forever. This is really, really handy in Steel Path and does a pretty good job of that at the very least. I do have adaptation in there, along with an Arcane Grace just to help me stay alive a little bit. Give me like a tiny bit of survivability in between when I'm jumping through things. I've also got a little bit of armor there as well with Arcane Guardian. You could easily put in Rolling Guard and Shield Gate instead, and that would also work perfectly fine. Other than that, though, Cataclysm basically just stays up forever once you put it down. It's also really good for defense missions. Again, just cover it in a bubble and then shoot the crap out of things and kill things and you'll do fine. So that's kind of the job, and it does it well. I think as a whole, it doesn't really matter if you don't extend the range on this. It's not going to be too big of a deal. Not range, but duration, I mean. It doesn't really matter too much. Either way, this guy's really, really effective for that. If you're ever struggling with excavations or defenses, I definitely recommend a Limbo Prime build or a Limbo build like this if you can get it. It's also really not former dependent. Next up, Mag. This one I use all the time as long as I am not versing anything that is infested. It is brutal against infested, but if I'm ever versing Corpus, this is a fantastic time My Archoplasmor does a pretty good job. It isn't the Tenant Archoplasmor. I do want to get that eventually, but it still does its job. Still has a decent degree of, I guess, behavior to what I need it to do, right? Again, not the best build in the world, but decent damage, and that's all that matters, really. Overall, though, pretty happy with it. As for Mag herself, it is a greedy pull build where I'm essentially just shield gating in a sense with prime redirection and my fourth ability. You get the full armor strip on polarize as well, which is really, really nice. Magnetize basically is the star of the show here. Pull magnetize combo still works really, really well. Crunch also doesn't do too bad and can keep you alive if you're ever about to die. Press crunch, shield gate to max, right? Polarize strips their shields and their armor, does a really, really good job of that. But overall, just really strong, performs well, and really only is scared of anything that provides a slash proc or a toxin proc, right? And rips through that measly 370 health that you have. And that's the only downside to it. You know, you don't have Rolling Guard to save you in this build. I could put Rolling Guard in here instead of Greedy Pull, for example, but Greedy Pull's just a comfort thing, really. And it saves me having to former the mag, because this is a zero former build as is. Very fun character. I use her all the time, just in random different missions. Caliban and Mag are two of my more commonly played characters. Next up is Mirage. I use her mainly for exterminates. She is my only character that I've put Archon Shards on, specifically casting speed and duration. I'm probably going to put one more duration and then 2 parkour, or maybe even as well looking at a second casting speed and then 2 parkour instead of the duration. But nevertheless, it is a really fun build, this one. It basically is just there to blitz through any missions that you have that require exterminating, especially for fissures. I can get a full fissure cracked in like a minute and a half, 2 minutes with this build, if there is an exterminate mission on fissure. But overall, it's just really good for exterminate builds. It's really good for survival as well. You're just sprinting around. You use your Twilight to get that armor reduction. I've also got infested mobility on her, so that way she's even faster. You got Hall of Mirrors to give you some extra defense by giving extra targets for people to shoot. And then, of course, Prism with Prism Guard for a boatload of damage. An absolute truckload of damage. It works really, really well. The Amar's Anguish is just there for more sprint speed and parkour velocity. Obviously, if you wanted to, you could easily put Strength in here and have more damage, but I find that just using Eclipse for the damage bonus instead gives you all that you need. And then you can immediately, after using the damage increase, turn her back over to damage reduction if you need it. But usually the damage increase and then just running will do a crap load of work for you. Other than that, Molt Augmented and Energize, as always, kind of just helps. More strength, more energy. This could easily be a different arcane, but I am really lacking in arcanes right now, so it's going to be Molt Augmented for now, just in case I do a survival where I need even more strength and more damage. Other than that, I do have the Fenmore on her. It is the same sort of thing. It is a blast build Fenmore. We do have Rifle Elementalist on here as well to really capitalize on that. I am running Wildfire as a secondary mod instead of specifically the Bane Corrupted mods, right? Because the Corrupted mods would give exceptionally more damage here on this build, but I just don't have them primed and ready to go, and I also haven't formed her with an extra slot to really make use of those primed mods, so I'm not going to bother with them right now. Nevertheless, super fun build, really enjoy it, and it's super effective. I use it all the time. If I'm ever farming, I have Necros, and I don't know if I've necessarily got the best Necros build in the world. This is one of the few characters that I use the Kamakura Reaper on. This is just a viral slash build from a million years ago using Blood Rush, Drifting Contact, Berserker Fury, and Reach. It does a pretty decent amount of damage, and it uses Exodia Hunt to pull in enemies. Lots of slash, lots of viral. Does a really good job of it. It gives lots of organ parts for Mr. Necros to then convert using his Desecrate ability. The actual Necros itself is just there for despoil and then maximum like range and duration essentially, so that way he can do all of his fun stuff. Got Arcane Grace and Guardian for tankiness, Adaptation for tankiness, and then a maxed out Vitality almost. I would love to equip something else, like Archon Vitality. That would be cool. But I just don't see a reason right now to really worry about something like that, or even if it was like a primed mod, right? Don't need to. It works perfectly fine as is. Health conversion as well for extra armor stacking, since we're getting all those orbs anyway. Just overall, really, really good little combo. Super durable, super comfy, great for farming any materials that I need in the game. Usually I don't need to worry about doing this on Steel Path because he gives so much, but if you do it on Steel Path, it's even more insane. And that is definitely enough to keep you alive in Steel Path anyway. Moving swiftly along, Nova for defense is a pretty obvious one. If you guys haven't played Nova, you don't know how important Nova is in a defense mission, because my god, speeding up those defense missions is an absolute dream. You basically just turn everything into Speedva. Super, super fast. Everyone wants to go as quickly as possible. She's fully built out now, so even when I upgrade this flow, I don't need to do anything with her, even with a bad polarity here. But crap load of strength, range, efficiency, and duration. A little bit of everything. Got Arcane Aegis for shield gating. Primed Redirection for plenty of shield gating as well. Molt Augmented to give me some more strength later on in the game. But nevertheless, this is a really, really comfy build that works really well. It gives you plenty of access to your portals if you need them. It gives you plenty of access to both maximum speed and also maximum slow. So if you need to do either, you can. The duration is nice on it as well. And the efficiency means that if you want to use antimatter drop or anything along those lines, you can. The Null Star is also going to be absolutely loving things with Molecular Fission as well, making it so that way you basically have infinite Null Star and you don't have to recast it over and over again. So there's that too. Overall, really comfortable and one of my favorite frames to use on those missions. Next up is Nyx. Nyx is a bit of a weird one. Not the greatest frame in the world, and I definitely love her visuals, but unfortunately her gameplay isn't great. She's kitted out with the same speed build that I have on all my other frames that rely on speed. But nevertheless, she is an Arcane Aegis, Arcane Energize, shield gating type build again, just to keep her alive a little bit. Got a Mars Anguish in there just from some extra speed, but that could easily be replaced with Rolling Guard, just to give her some more durability as well instead. But overall, she is rocking a little bit of efficiency, but mainly just maximum range. You apply Chaos, and she is perfect for interception missions, because if they're fighting each other, they are not activating the objectives, and if they're not activating the objectives, then that is perfectly fine. If you do hear someone activating an objective, it's most likely an Eximus. You can fly over there with all the movement speed that you have with this build, and then basically kill it, get it off the objective, and move on. You've got plenty of staying power with the Aegis Rolling Guard combo, plus Primed Redirection and an Augur mod in there as well. You can use plenty of different abilities. Absorb also keeps you alive as well. So overall, just a really solid little build for interception missions. I rarely do them because I hate interception, but they're there if you need them. Next up is Octavia, one of my favorite characters in the game, or Warframes in the game. Really, really good for pretty much everything. Her build is pretty self-explanatory. It is just a crap load of duration, a little bit of strength, range. The efficiency is not really a problem because you get so many orbs, and also you get Arcane Energize. You've got Equilibrium in there as well for more energy, efficiency, and just in general, super survivable. You got Rolling Guard to keep you alive just in case you beans up your invisibility. Plenty of range as well to make sure that you're affecting a wide variety of the map as well. Plenty of energy as well, just in case you need to cast all three abilities right at once. But yeah, you basically just sit down, take a bunch of damage, and that's really it. There's nothing else to it. You invis the whole time, shooting and making sure that the opponents can't get to you. And they're great for defense missions, great for survival missions where you're just holding down a little zone. Even does well in some other missions that you can use, like excavation, as long as the excavation has some cover to the machine and they can't be shooting it from across the planet. It does really well too. Highly recommend Octavia if you haven't got her built. She is a bit of a boring Warframe, and that can hurt sometimes, but I think she's still very, very cool. Next up, Revenant. This guy is an absolute menace. He is not fully leveled up, as you can see, but he is fully built. Really not much to say here. It is a max strength with a little bit of duration. Revenant, mainly just doing what he does, which is a raw buff on the Rev, because I don't need the spin. And then he just does his typical Mesmer Skin Enthrall combo. I do have Mesmer Shield as well, giving me more shields. I have Thrall Pack for more damage, so I can use the Thrall plus Mesmer plus Raw, and it all stacks. Does a whole bunch of damage. Really, really effective. Molt Augmented for even more strength throughout the mission. Arcane Energized to keep me afloat, considering my efficiency is down the toilet. And to make things even better, there is pretty much no way you can die. You can take this to level cap, and it'll be perfectly fine. You've just got to keep on top of things. I don't really use him because he's incredibly boring, hence why he's only level 27 after I finished formering him. But definitely something that I'm glad I have, just in case. Next up is Valkyr. Valkyr is actually one that I've been using for soloing Netracells on the rare occasion where I decide to play them and have the time to play them. This is just a build that, well, solos Netracells. It will speed through the mission incredibly quickly, max strength, max duration. Could easily put in Raw here if you wanted to instead of something like Ripline. It's got Eternal War in here, so you're basically never running out of Hysteria. And you've got some just efficiency in here to keep that Warcry buff going forever, right? So that way you're just getting as much damage as possible all the time, and you're never really having to worry about it. As long as you keep killing, you'll keep dealing damage. The Talons, they're a bit of a mess right now. I do have to fix them up, but this still works as a perfectly serviceable set of Talons, even though I've got to former it like 2 more times to really get as much value as I want out of it. But it works, and that's all that matters. Other than that, though, we do have Wisp, which is probably my new favorite Warframe. Wisp has been really good. Like, really, really good. Honestly, one of my all-time favorites. Really enjoy playing her. She's super comfy. Combat Discipline and Fused Reservoir on there as well. Arcane Grace to just be super tanky and obnoxious. I don't think I've ever been downed as Wisp with that sheerly massive health pool. Adaptation to make her even more durable. You've got a boatload of strength in there as well, which is really handy. You've also got plenty of range, so that way you've got a good moat range. You don't need the efficiency because the moat does a lot of work, and you've got some duration there just to help you out if you need to. However, there is a couple of changes that will be being made to this build. Obviously, the 2 key ones here is going to be Archon Intensify and also Archon Stretch. I will be swapping those over eventually. I just haven't gotten enough in terms of endo to fully level these up. But as soon as I have, I will be swapping both of these over just to allow myself mainly the bonuses that you get from them. Since you're already applying electricity over time, you get infinite energy that way. The efficiency is even less of a problem. And then Arcane Intensify, obviously restoring health. Abilities grant 30% extra ability strength, which is something that you already do. So combat discipline, comboing with that, activates that. It's just a really, really good loop and super, super comfy to play. Got the speed build on her, works really, really well. You absolutely fly through missions. You can do any mission you want, and she will do absolute work. Lastly, or not lastly, actually, I think I got one more frame that I've been building. Lastly, almost, is Wukong. Wukong's pretty okay. He's fine. I don't have the slam build on him, but I have access to it if I ever need to do it. I've just got to build a melee weapon for it. But basically, standard sort of stat build on this guy. Nothing too crazy there. However, we do have a bit of a stranger build, I guess you could say. It's just a durability build. You're really, really durable here. You've got access to Cloudwalker, obviously, doing a lot of work there. The Celestial Twin will help out too. And you can also be super durable with Defy and Primal Fury if you need to. It's just a fantastic little build for clearing missions quickly and getting as much done as possible, as comfy as possible. I will admit the slam build is also really fantastic. You can very easily still do the slam build. I know some people thought that it got nerfed, but in saying that, the reason why a lot of people think it got nerfed is because they've added a animation that you basically can't cancel for the most part when you're doing your slam attacks. However, you can always add Molt somewhere in here, right? You could replace Defy with Molt, and Molt can actually be activated after every slam, and it will immediately cancel that slam animation, so you can still do the slam build if you want to. I don't have a build yet that can utilize that, so my Molt is not on there, and I have gone for a bit more of a comfy build. Truly, lastly, we do have Zephyr. Zephyr is one that I've been having an absolute blast with. Another kind of new favorite of mine that can do absolutely every single thing in the game. Everything that you could imagine, everything that you want, she does it, and she does it so well. Zephyr is phenomenal. There is so many different mods you can put in this last slot. I actually am still thinking about what I want to put in here. But it's basically just a duration range build with a little bit of strength in there and plenty of efficiency. This is one that will absolutely abduct people from across the planet and put them into your tornadoes. You've got access to plenty of damage in the form of like your Tailwind combo. If you want to use Turbulence, you can use Turbulence to keep you alive. You've got Tornado, which will be a great source of CC. And then Airburst also is a great source of CC if you need it. All of these abilities are getting turbo buffed. Jetstream is probably the mod I'm going to end up putting in here just to give myself even more damage. But overall, this is another fantastic frame that you can use all the time. Even with just using it like this, I have done plenty of really high-level runs, and I've had a great time with it. So, as a whole, these are the frames. These are what I've been using. I do have these remaining 6 frames here. They do need TLC, which is why I've just got TLC written on them, so that way I can remember that. But I generally just need various different Helminths and stuff like that on these characters to really make them work. Chroma needs a Nourish Helminth, which I haven't really gotten around to. Ember needs a couple of mods. Equinox needs some Formering and mods. Hydroid, same thing, some mods and Formering. Kome needs a Reactor and then some building. Not that I'm probably going to keep Kome. And then Trinity just needs to be waiting for her rework. So I will get to those guys eventually and get them through the door. As you've seen, I've expanded my main primary arsenal. I've expanded my Warframes. I've also done a little bit of work on my Cavat. Oh, not Cavat, sorry, my Vulpaphyla. My infested Cavat, if you will. Gotten a little bit more love going with that as well, which is really, really fun. And I was also able to keep going and keep getting these upgraded as well. I do need to get a Bite mod eventually, so that way I can fully max that out with a legendary core, and then I'll have pretty much everything that I need fully done. So that way my secondary pet is all sorted. We also do have Banshee Prime ready to go. I just don't have a slot for her, which is perfectly fine. I'll get a slot for her eventually. And I've been working on all these mods, getting all these mods together. We are still waiting on a couple of mods to get finished. Serration I'm no longer worrying about because I have the Amalgam Serration, which I am enjoying a lot more. Steel Fiber is very rare to use, same thing with Vitality, but it is in use. The main ones that I'm focusing on now is stuff like Prime Flow, Preparation, Point Blank for some extra damage. Galvanized Steel as well is going to be useful eventually as well. Those Archon mods I need to get upgraded as well eventually. But overall, we're just slowly progressing through. I'm grinding a boatload of arbitrations at the moment, which has been my main focus outside of formering things over and over again. Getting the Torrid really, really helped. And yeah, we've just been getting through things. I haven't really done too much other than that, though. It's just been Steel Path circuiting over and over again to try and get more and more Incarnans, which is why I've got so many more Incarnans now. We've also had some work on formering other characters and working through my Helminth. My Helminth is actually doing quite nicely too. I just finished doing my Dread Incarnon in the Steel Path circuit, so got my Dread Incarnon. I'm not going to worry about these Zylock right now. But the Dread Incarnon was what I wanted to get anyway, and it very much so is going to be put onto my Dread, which will be another weapon that I'll use in the future. My Dread is looking pretty good so far, I feel. I'll quickly give you a look at that as well, just in case you want to see it. This is my Dread so far. I think it's still pretty solid. Definitely could be potentially better. Like, I could probably go Critical Delay instead of Argon Scope, right? If I format it more, which I'm going to need to do anyway for the Prime Shred. And, like, the Wildfire could easily be swapped out for something else, like a Hellfire. And we could go for less status, since it's not really a status weapon anyway, and just go for something else. That's perfectly doable too. But I think as a whole, this still works quite nicely. Plenty of punch through, plenty of fire rate, which counteracts the negative fire rate on Critical Delay. Gets me plenty of damage. This is a really, really fantastic crit damage mod. It does mean that I can't use it against any infested, but it's viral heat. It doesn't need that. Overall, really, really fun. You got that extra movement speed as well with Serration, so I think it's just a big up no matter what. But yeah, Dread's getting there. It needs a little bit of extra love, but it'll be done eventually. I hope that one day there's a better skin for it though, because right now that's a pretty ugly weapon. With that in mind though, I am done. My update video for you guys is finished. I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope you got to see where I'm at, and let me know if there's anything else that you recommend me do. I've been trying to get Netrocells done, and trying to keep on top of the circuit and that sort of thing. And we're pretty successful with that at the moment. But again, I just haven't really been able to do much more. But if you want to see me do some content and use these Warframes, please let me know. I'll happily make some more videos and follow up on anything that you need as well. So please give me any comments down below with information that you'd like to see, or if there's any builds or farms that you'd like to see me do and how I would tackle them in the most efficient way I can, coming from a place that isn't crazy content, prime sure-footed on every single character kind of a way, then by all means tell me. Other than that, if you liked the video, please do leave a like. If you disliked it, that's okay too. Please leave some feedback though if you do dislike it, so that way I can improve. I would always like to keep improving my content. Subscribe if you haven't already. I have daily videos, not just Warframe, all sorts of games. I'm going through about 1,000 games in my Steam library right now and posting videos about every single one as I go through them. So check that out too. Nevertheless, much love. Thank you all. If you haven't checked me out on Twitch, go do that too. I will see you very much so in the next one. So stay safe out there, and I will be back soon. Bye.